Good morning and welcome back to the Green Room. Today I have a special guest with us from Johnson Controls who reps DSC and Qolsys products, Dave Manento. So I really want to go over what Johnson Controls is, what Qolsys is, what DSC is, and how it all ties together to make some of the best products in the security industry.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, first of all.
Absolutely, it's a
Great to be
pleasure.
here and talk about our products. Johnson Controls, we're a manufacturer, okay? And under my label, I rep DSC, Qolsys, which are two different alarm system products, as well as a PowerG, which we'll talk about quite a bit here today, which is the PowerG wireless frequency that our claim to fame is. So I have several different flags under the Johnson Controls label. So that's in a nutshell, that's what we are.
Well, we love using Qolsys. I know our customers love it, and I know that, millions of people out there use it, which is a great thing. And how has Qolsys evolved the security industry overall?
Well, Qolsys, which came out around 2014, 2015, decided that they wanted to change the way everybody looked at the old standard alarm system, where it was just a rubber button keypad on the wall that you went and pressed a button and a green or red light came on or off, or we have a display that says system is armed. We went and came out with a all-in-one touchscreen system, but went a little bit further with the automation and the wireless and just a better feel and a better, more modern look. And as we've evolved, we've changed our systems from the original Qolsys panel to the IQ2s, to the IQ2 Pluses, and now we're looking at an IQ4 with some PowerG Plus devices on them, as well as our new PowerG automation. So that's where we stand today. But predominantly, it's a all-in-one security system with automation and a lot of other features built in, which we can look at today.
And that's great because, you see this newer style panel and there's just so much that you can do with it. It's not just a security panel like you mentioned. There's so much automation involved, plugs and locks, and, even including PowerG into the locks gives us further range than Z-Wave ever could. And there's just so many big benefits to that. And I think that this is our premier lineup right now is the IQ Panel 4.
That's correct, yes.
And we also have the IQ Pro. If we still want the original Canon, we have a lot of hardwired sensors. We can put that in, still get all the benefits. And
exactly, have all the benefits of the old traditional hardwire hybrid system in a can. So if you still need that can look and can feel and, hey, I need to run conduit or more of a commercial atmosphere, the IQ Pro, which is a little bit bigger system compared to this, but yet still gives you all the great easy programming of a system and all the features that you have there. As well as we can also put our secondary touchscreens so you still have that same feel that you have on the IQ4 with the IQ Pro.
And there's a ton of power built into it. So it's up to, what is the sensor count we can have on a panel like this?
So on this particular system, on an IQ4 or across our line, where we do have a couple levels below the IQ4, and then we have the IQ Pro, they all do 128 zones or sensors, which is quite big, all right? The IQ4 does 242 users, and we can do up to 4 partitions. So if you have that mother-in-law suite, you have a small building where, office building where you might have 2 or 3 office spaces, or you need to split that up with an external garage or whatever, we can control the system like they're 4 separate systems, but yet only through one system.
And that's really nice if you have certain rooms that you don't want people to go into, or, even if you have some access control configured.
Yes.
It's really nice that everybody can have their own code.
Yes.
And tied back through alarm.com, we have all the automation aspects. So it's a really neat, way to tie everything together.
Oh, absolutely. So on the IQ4, not only do we have the security side of it, but like you said, we have automation, but we do several other things too. For instance, this system here actually has 4 quad speakers in the front of it, so a nice crisp sound. Okay, we can put a sounder base on it for even a better sound. For instance, in my residence, right, we actually have it sitting in the kitchen, and we can stream music through it because we have Bluetooth in this as well. So I can do Bluetooth, and I can stream music through it, I can also use it for Bluetooth disarming. So as I come home, instead of having to reach out and I'm carrying stuff, go to my system and do it, it's going to recognize me and I can have it disarm automatically through Bluetooth. We also have Z-Wave, which is built in, which is a mesh network. So the more devices you have, the better it is. And that's the way we used to do automation, through Z-Wave devices. And we can talk about PowerG now that we do automation with PowerG, which is much better than a mesh network. And then again, we have the touchscreen. So, and what's really nice about this system is it's very easy to install. I've been with many people who have never installed this system before, and within an hour, they're pros at putting it in. We have a great wizard built in, so the first time you power this up, it's going to walk you through the wizard from step 1 all the way through. Okay, and a lot of really cool features, such as we could actually go into the system, right? And when we go into the system, I can go into, I'm looking from here, video tutorials, so the end user can actually play a video on, hey, how do I arm it? How do I disarm it? Okay, and you can customize them or have them customized yourself for your own company. So really nice features for the system, and you can see how smooth and easy it is to touch the system.
And it really separates it from the other systems out there. I mean, I think PowerG is really incredible. I haven't seen anybody step on that yet.
Yeah.
And compared to everybody else out there, I mean, this is just such a fresh feel. It's not clunky. It's extremely easy. For us to set up, it's easy. For the end user to use, they love it. There's just so many big benefits to it. And like you said, the sounder base is great. It's that little Bluetooth speaker, but it fills a room.
Exactly. And it's not looked at as hey, there's the security system. It's looked at as there's an ecosystem, like you might have Alexa or Google Home or something in your home. It kind of resembles that. The system can also be set up as a digital picture frame, so I can stream some of my family pictures on it and all that stuff, so it doesn't look like the old traditional alarm system. The other big benefit to our system is we do what we call dual path communication. So when we're communicating to the central station, not only are we communicating, this has built-in cell communication, but also internet communication as well. It's Wi-Fi predominantly, okay, but we can add daughter cards, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we do dual path communication, so we go over 2 different means of communication: internet and cell. So we do it a little bit differently than everybody else. We do simultaneous dual path, which means it travels out of both signals, or one signal over both networks, over the cell network and the Wi-Fi or internet network. And basically what it is the first one's there, the last one drops off. So you're not waiting for one technology to fail as the other one takes over, which everybody has dual path today, but we do simultaneous dual path. So again, we're not waiting that 1 or 2 minutes for one technology to fail 4 or 5 times before the other one takes over. So I think that's also a big advantage we have over a lot of other systems out there today.
And that's a big selling point for us. Is I always tell my customers that I have dual path communication in these systems.
Yes.
And they all ask, well, what is that? Well, it's exactly what you just said. And it's really important, because when there is an emergency situation, we can't have a failure.
Exactly.
And, you can't have that minute or two, because that minute or two could be lives. It could be, burglary. It could be anything. So we can't have that. And that's why this really, takes the cake for that.
Absolutely. That's one of the most important things I'll point out right away is our simultaneous dual path. The other thing is we partner with alarm.com. So our backbone and our plate to that is alarm.com. So we do all our communications, our self-forwarding through alarm.com, as well as it gives the customer remote access to the system through an app. Okay.
Yep.
Which you've had alarm.com on in the past, and you've talked about several of the things they do with the cameras, but we also do the systems with them as well. You could also stream the alarm.com cameras right to the screen on here. So, for instance,
wow,
at my home, I can actually bring up, hey, there's the swing set out back and look at the grandkids, or there's the front walkway waiting to see when somebody pulls into the driveway, or somebody rings the front doorbell. It can actually populate on the front of the screen, and I can answer it from the screen as well. So that's another really nice feature. So normally you would see your keypad up on the wall, your old fancy rubber button keypad that you used to have. This can be desk mounted, as I said. We can put a sounder base on it, or it can be traditionally wall mounted as well. So again, in my house, it's mounted in the kitchen. That's where we spend most of the time. My wife's been there most of the time, so it's easy for her to get to and access. The other feature she uses all the time is she streams the weather clock to it. So she likes to see what the weather is every morning when she comes to the pad and sees the weather.
And we can get severe weather alerts through it.
You can get severe weather alerts also through it. That's pushthroughalarm.com. That would populate through here. So
It's the total integration. I know we talked about it on the alarm.com podcast, but we love complete integration.
Mhm.
That's the point, of
Yes.
all this, is to make it easy and make it work.
yes.
Compared to like the Z-Wave, I'll talk about my own experience with Z-Wave is there's just devices everywhere and you're trying to build this mesh and this is power, this is battery, what repeats, what doesn't, and it's a consistent problem for me.
Right.
And, I know my house is all old stone and plaster, so nothing goes through it. But after implementing these IQ locks, I could never install another lock.
Right.
I can't wait till we have anything new in that, whether it's a lever or knob or any of that.
Our goal eventually is, this is our first line. We come out with 3 different colors on this. We have the satin, we have the matte black, and then we have a rubbed brass or little kind of similar but rubbed antique look to it. So those are the 3 right now. But our next goal would be, we would come out with a touchscreen. Keyless touchscreen, which I've seen the prototypes are really, really nice. And yes, down the line, we'd love to have a lever lock. So,
But I love, the rubber buttons. Always feel them. Always know where they are. I mean, it is. I think it's one of the best priced locks out there.
Yeah. Oh, we are very well priced, right in the ballpark with the Z-Wave devices and everything as well as that. One thing we didn't mention also in this system is you can retrofit this and take over existing systems. So you have that capability to do that. All right. So if you walk into a Honeywell system that might have a 345 frequency, or an old Interlogix GE system that has a 319 frequency, you can take that over, because we have, not only do we have our PowerG frequency built into the system, but we have what we call legacy frequencies. So this can do both PowerG, and it can do 319, which would be your old Interlogix GE. It can do 345, which predominantly is Honeywell and some other products out there. And it also can take over our old 433 Legacy, which is the old Legacy DSC products that we used to have with our wireless, with our Power Series Pro, our Power Series line. But yeah, we just came out with PowerG in the automation, which makes it nice because, like you said, with Z-Wave is a mesh network, and it's nice to have the automation with the Z-Wave, but you're relying on other products. And what some people don't realize is there are powered Z-Wave devices and there are non-powered Z-Wave devices. So as, for instance, a smart plug, when I put a smart plug in, that's a powered device because it always has power to it, all right? So it can relay the signal and repeat the signal to other Z-Wave devices. So the more Z-Wave devices I have, the better my signal is going to be. The problem with that is it's only going to go so far. We're only going to go so many feet with the Z-Wave device. So I need multiple devices to travel, because this door lock might be 100 feet away from my receiver, which is built into the panel, right, in Z-Wave world. So I need to throw in some maybe smart plugs to help repeat that signal, all right? Then the problem is, customer pulls it out and moves it over to another outlet. They've just messed with the whole mesh network. So now it's not communicating, and all of a sudden you're trying to get into the door lock and it's not coming back to the door lock.
It's a lot more cluttered.
There's
plugs and different, things. And like you said, what's powered, what's not. I mean,
exactly.
I hate fighting with it because it's like I have 2 Yale locks.
Yes.
And they fail. They're line of sight. There's a door in between them. I put a repeater in. It touches one, but it won't work the other. If the other door's open, then it'll reach the other one. And I'm like, this isn't fun. And then I put one of these in, and it's like, it does. This could be a mile away. It'll work.
Exactly. PowerG is rated at 6,000 feet open air line of sight. We have a great YouTube video that shows us actually transmitting PowerG over Niagara Falls. We have our guys in the Canadian side and the guys over on the US side, and they're actually arming and disarming this system, unlocking and unlocking this door over Niagara Falls. They're well over 3,000 feet away from it. It's a great video. It's on YouTube. Just Google PowerG over Niagara Falls and you'll see the video.
I think we can link it in our description.
That would be great. That would be great. But back to the lock, back to the PowerG devices, like you said, is you might only be going in and all you're selling that customer is this door lock. They only need one door lock. But again, it's 100 feet away. If you were Z-Wave, you have to add those extra devices to get it to properly work back to the system, whereas now you're selling one device because this is communicating back to the system by itself. It doesn't rely on any other device. Same thing as far as our smart plugs. We have outdoor plugs. We have outlets. We have dimmer switches, light switches. If you can, we'll put a link on the bottom as well so they can click on that and get more information directly to our website on those devices.
Absolutely. And it comes back to really price.
Yes.
Because now you're buying one unit that actually works compared to we're buying a door lock, which they're more expensive most of the time. And then you got to buy, well, maybe I need 3 or 4 smart plugs, but then I don't know. And then you already put the bid out to the customer and then it's like, oh, well, I need more now because now it's not going to work. And, you know, I think it's a big hassle. And with this, it's a surefire, put it in, the codes work, everything is just fantastic. User codes transfer over. I mean, like that.
Very quick and easy. And I always recommend anytime you're adding user codes or doing any changes with scheduling, do it through the app.
Yep.
It's just much more smoother and quicker and easy. Literally, I can go into my app, I can learn in a user code on the lock, and within a minute, it's pushed both to the lock and to the alarm. The other neat part about that is we can do scheduling, we can do, you know, with partitioning. So let's say I have a contractor that comes in my house, which I did. I had a contractor that redid our kitchen, right? We were away the week that the cabinets and everything came in, so we gave him access to the house. But we put his code in the lock. We disarmed the system remotely before he got there, right? His code would only work in the lock from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. So I didn't have to worry about somebody coming back. Maybe his helper had the code and having somebody else come back that I didn't know, you know, after 5 o'clock at night. So it's really nice. And we can make it temporary as well.
The ease of use.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's going back to alarm.com, ease of use. And now that you have products that actually combat that, it's just one big full circle. But, you know, looking at some of these new products that we have on the table here, can we go over these now?
So we are coming out with, and we've slowly released like our locks, our dimmer switches, actually our secondary tablet that actually hooks to this now. We used to rely on customers' Wi-Fi, which would always fall off. So we came out with a new secondary tablet about 2 years ago, and that's PowerG as well. So now, if for any reason a power goes out or the customer loses Wi-Fi, their secondary touchscreen, which might be in the bedroom, is still working because it's attached PowerG. That's PowerG Plus device as well. What we did is we're coming out with and releasing very soon some of these new devices that you see here on the table are PowerG Plus. The difference between our PowerG Plus and our PowerG devices today, still the same distances, the same range, the great ease of installing, maybe even easier to install as we'll go over. But PowerG Plus has a couple other features built in where I can actually see the live battery level on a sensor through my alarm.com or through my system, all right? I can do a firmware update. So if we come out with some new feature built into a device, we can actually push that update to the device itself, as well as I can actually see the temperature at the device and say, hey, okay, you know, that door sensor is 65 degrees or 45 degrees or the motion sensor, you know. So I can actually see the ambient temperature at a device as well. So that's pretty neat stuff.
Yeah.
And also more slick, more neat design. The other ones were more squared off and stuff. You'll see as we move along our door sensors and stuff like that, more of a one length of a magnet and ease to do. The other neat thing is as far as learning a device in now, some of our devices in the past with PowerG, there was a learn mode button. There was also, you could add a battery. Well, now with the new devices, you can actually pull a pull tab on the battery and learn it in. Okay, so making it real simple and easy to learn in, as we saw when you learned one of the sensors in earlier.
Extremely quick. And, looking at a sensor that I don't think a lot of people have seen before. Can we go over this one?
So we actually still do today. We have a motion, okay, but this is going to be our new passive infrared PIR motion detector with a built-in camera. So I have an alarm occurs, I can log in and see, hey, there's actually somebody in that room, or I want to take a quick look in. I can say through my app on alarm.com, I can actually click on and say look in now and take a quick snapshot of it. So right now it's going to be a snapshot. Okay, and then stream those pictures together to actually make a slight video.
Okay, so like a nice quick one.
Yeah.
And I know we can do that too. They have a feature here.
We also have
look
on
in.
the IQ4, we have a built-in camera on the IQ4. So through here, we can actually go in, and as we go into the screen, you can see as we scroll over, I can actually see pictures of who's disarmed it. I can also take an alarm video. So if an alarm occurs and I walk in front of the screen, it'll take a quick 10-second video clip. It stores it on the system, okay? But you can, through alarm.com, have it pushed to the cloud. So let's say Susie comes to the system and disarms it, your daughter, whatever, and pushes you a notification, and you're like, wait a second, why is Billy in front of the camera? So not only are you getting somebody who disarmed the system, but you're also getting a picture who disarmed the system.
Yep, and that's a really great feature.
As well as we can also do a look in now with that as well.
Yeah, and take a picture at the time.
Yes.
That has saved me a lot, especially when an alarm goes off. You can just, look in, even though you have so many cameras, it's really nice because that's normally in a spot where you don't have a camera.
Correct.
So it's nice to just be able to tap and look in.
The other neat thing we did was some other manufacturers out there do have cameras in. We had a camera in our previous systems as well, but the camera was shooting straight out. Higher megapixel on our camera. All right. But what we did is along the top, you can see we put a little turn knob screw on the top there. So now if this is desk mounted, obviously it's looking up. If it's on the wall, it's looking straight. I can actually adjust the angle of the camera as well.
So move it to where it needs to be.
Exactly.
Which is really neat. And then these are, our 4 speakers here again. That's our siren.
Speakers. Yep. We have our siren built in here and then the sound as well. Yes.
And it can talk.
Yes, it speaks whatever you put in. So,
that's a good thing.
It's basically a Android-based tablet, and if I put in a certain name, it's going to speak whatever that name is. That's the other thing is when I learn in a device, I'm not stuck to those standard front door, back door, motion detector, bedroom window, whatever. We do have those quick words to choose from. All right, if you're adding the device, but you can also customize a word and have it say Harry's bedroom window.
Yep. And can we go over some of the science now with PowerG and PowerG Plus? So the megahertz that it goes over, how it communicates.
Great. So here's how PowerG, how I explain how PowerG works, okay? And PowerG Plus is going to work the same way. PowerG is a 900 megahertz frequency, okay? We work between 912 to 919 frequency. So we're in a vast, large area of that 900 megahertz frequency. Think of it as like 50 lanes of a highway, okay? Basically, PowerG is bidirectional with the system. So we communicate to our system and our system talks back to the sensors. So instead of some of the old legacy stuff where the sensor's just sitting there listening, waiting or the panel's sitting there waiting to listen for the sensor to talk to it, it's talking to the sensor and the sensor's talking back. So bidirectional communication. And again, like I said, there's a large vast between that 912 to 919 range, which means when we're communicating, we have a lot of lanes to work in, okay? So we do what we call frequency hopping as well. So as it's communicating, it's bouncing around inside those lanes about 64 times per second. So where standard sensors might be, the old legacy sensors might be one frequency, let's say all of a sudden we've got some kind of noise or frequency interruption, that's going to cause it to go into supervision or go into an alarm. We're actually avoiding that as much as possible, okay? It's also 128-bit encryption, so basically high encrypted, okay? And one of the things I like is that it's power adaptive. So if I learn in a device, okay, 900 megahertz frequency is me screaming at you as loud as I possibly can, right?
Yep.
But I learn this device in, I might only be 50 feet away. This panel's going to say, yo, I'm right here. You can lower your voice, right? What that means is it's reducing the amount of energy it's using on the built-in battery. So when we say on a 900 megahertz device that, hey, we're getting 5 to 7 years on certain devices, we mean it. Actually, the locks, right, will give you a much longer life expectancy on the battery than the Z-Wave will, because they're not working as hard as a Z-Wave device is, okay? Like you said, you've got to repeat that device several times, so it's working as hard as it can. I've heard stories of up to 40 times more battery life on this than on a Z-Wave. I can tell you, I still have one of the Z-Wave devices on one of my doors at home. Just got to get there to change it.
Yep.
But I'd probably change that batteries every 3 months in that. I could tell you, this is my demo that I've had probably for well over a year now. I don't think I've ever changed the batteries. So
I've never changed mine either.
yeah. So the battery life is real well. You can also see the battery life in the system as well in alarm.com. You can check the battery life and get notification. The other thing with PowerG is the same thing. You get notification on tampers. You get notification on, battery life if the battery's getting low. So it's not like all of a sudden it's going to die and it's dead. No, you're going to get a notification when the battery's low. And with that, so I've got a low battery on a sensor. With PowerG Plus, I can actually see through alarm.com my battery levels on all those devices.
Which you weren't able to do before, and this is one of our
Correct.
previous sensors.
So, yeah, what you have there is what we call our 9303. That's probably our largest. It is. It's our number one selling sensor that we have out on the market today. Okay. And then that's still going to be there. Still works great. Great sensor. But it's going to eventually look like the PGP 9303, which is a little more rounded in shape. I like the fact that the magnet is the same length, so it all streams together real nice and simple.
It's a very consistent look, because
yes.
before you had to make sure that this was perfectly on that line, and it was, everything was kind of shifted, and now it's just a streamlined, and it actually looks smaller, but it's a little bit bigger.
We did match that to the one you had on the door over there.
It's a little
bit bigger, but I think the way it's curved and everything makes it look a lot more
sleeker.
stream.
It lost a couple pounds.
I can tell you, I put one of the devices on. I have the 9303s on my windows, and I put one to show my wife. I said, which one do you like better? She picked that one.
Yeah.
I was like, why? It's because it's more streamlined with that magnet.
Yeah, I know we talked about it, because I was like, well, I really don't want that on my window. It's too blocky.
Yeah.
And now that I saw this, I can't wait till it comes out.
Right.
And it's just an easy firmware update. If you have an IQ Panel 4, we can go to the, PG Plus devices.
Yes. It's just a firmware update to the system. That's the other thing that stands out about our system is, some of the old legacy panels and systems that were out there, you put them in and then all of a sudden they came out with a new feature. Well, you got to go to this version of the system, right? With us, it's just a firmware update. So as we add more features to the system, it's just a firmware update. We showed one thing. I don't know if I can show it real quick here with you, but what we did was we came out with one of the new features. If we go into settings, there you go, and we go into display, and the end user can do this really fast and easy. You can see how quick it changes. It'll actually go from what we call our normal screen to a dark mode screen. That's a new, I see everybody likes the dark
we have dark mode.
Yeah, we have a dark mode. So, features like that. So we also made the latest firmware update that did the dark mode. We also have swap capability for the sensors. So it's no longer deleting out a sensor, relearning it back in it. We can go in, we can punch in a code, hit swap, and it just changes that. So now if somebody broke a sensor, it's easier to replace it through programming.
Instead of deleting.
Yeah, instead of deleting and then re-tripping and doing all that, you can go in, send out the sensor to the customer, log in, just change out the unit number on the sensor, and you're done.
Yep, and it's so easy to pair to this, device, and you have the app.
Yes.
As well now that, is the installer's
That's the other
application.
thing we came out with is we actually have an installer app now on our maybe we could show a little link to that as well, but it's the installer app for the installer to make it easier. I still say it's easy to program from here. Most of your installers will do there. Where that app works great is in some of the other panels like the IQ Pro, okay, or our IQ No Screen. But what's nice about that for the installer is the test modes. So I can actually see the frequency. Not only do I see with our devices, hey, I'm good, I'm weak, whatever, with the colors of the LED on that device, but I can actually see the dB ratings as well now through the app.
That's great. And I mean, there's just so many features to this that make
Oh,
it.
we can go on all day.
You can go on all day. Down at the bottom here, you have your actual panics. So if there is, it's like the old,
Yep.
Honeywell
Yep.
keypads. You had the
Just
cross and all
touch
that.
down at the bottom, and there it is.
Silent alarm. So you've, all your different things here, your fires here. And that's not to mention that we do have smoke and carbon monoxide detectors here.
Yep. PowerG smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. And again, what I like about our detectors is, again, we're bi-directional. So we are one go, all go. So if your smoke detector detects smoke, let's say down in the basement, right? It's going to ring in that smoke detector, but it's transmitted to the panel. The panel's saying, okay, fire, and sends out to all the other smokes. So now we're sounding through the whole house. So it's not just one smoke detector ringing downstairs and you're upstairs sleeping in your master bedroom. You're going to be alerted that way.
And tied into central station.
And tied into central station as well.
Then we can dispatch, whoever needs to come, which is
the fire department, or notify your backup list or whatever. And that's the big thing today is, back in the day, I've been doing this since 1987, okay? I had my own company and everything, just like you, and I went through all those headaches and stuff. But back then, we sold what we called burglar alarm systems. These systems today, people, I call them a notification device. People want to know when things are happening. For instance, I want to know I might have a back door that I hardly ever use. So not only is it on my system that I can arm it and an alarm will occur if somebody breaks in at night or when I'm away, but that back door, it leads to my pool. I might want to get a notification that one of my grandkids opened up the back door and went out on the deck. So that back door can send me a notification through alarm.com as well as chime at the panel, even though it's not armed in the system.
Yeah. And that could also be a partition.
Yes, it can also be
if you did want that extra security,
yes,
which,
yes.
the kids at the pool is important.
I have, for instance, I have my shed door, right? My shed door is about 500 feet away from the house. So one is PowerG can transmit that far, all right? So I have a sensor on my shed door where I have my mowers and my snowblower and all my outdoor equipment and everything. But I want to know when that door is opened, because I might be away during the day. Well, I am away during the day or whatever. If somebody goes back in that shed, I want to be not only chime here at the pad, I want to be alerted. So now it's alerted. And then, of course, now I log into my cameras that I have on my house and see what's going on.
Yep.
So getting notifications. Also, we have low temperature. We have water. So if we have a leaky hot water heater or water under the sink, or the dishwasher hose broke in the back of the dishwasher and it's flooding there, you can get notified, because one of the biggest insurance claims, as you know, is water damage.
Yep.
Yeah. So
water damage is a huge one.
Like you said, carbon monoxide detectors. So, we can do just about everything. The nice part about the larger sensor here is it actually has an input in it as well. So not only can I use this as a door contact, but I can hardwire in a panic button. I can wire just about anything in there. I'm working with a company right now that's doing a sewage treatment plant, and they needed some triggers for, hey, they get a dry closure when the flow valve hits a low or a high level. They're actually tripping the wireless device and transmitting back to the main building, which is about 1,000 feet away.
Really?
Yep. So, it's just notification of certain things that happen. So I get calls all the time. Hey, I need to do this. I need to do that. We think about it. We can do it.
Yeah.
We can notify you. That's the whole thing.
And the aux, I mean, a lot of people won't, need as
There we
your
go.
front door open.
Yeah.
But the aux is really important. And I actually was at Alarmax the other day, and I bought, I didn't know they still made them. It was the, I think they were by like a Demco, and they're the gray wire that has the pull plug and the fuse inside of it.
Pull the parts?
Yeah, for the Bilco doors.
Yeah.
And Devin was like, I didn't even know they still made these things. I don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm like, this is exactly what I need. I said, I need this, and I need one of these sensors,
Were
and
they
I'm
the
good.
old Jones, what we called Jones cords back in the day?
Yeah, they have the chain on them.
Yep.
And
we used to call them Jones cords. Yeah.
and you pull it, and then your alarm goes off, because there's no good way to, alarm a Bilco door.
Right.
Because it's not flat, so this would never fit, because it's something's here, something's here.
Correct.
That one, I still don't know how to put it on, but I mean, it couldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
But at least you have that solution. So this will let you use basically any sensor out there.
Right.
When it comes to securing something.
Any hardwired sensor. So
any hardwired sensor. And the water sensors, I love the water sensors.
Yeah,
I put them all over.
our water, and we're actually going to be releasing another water sensor. It's we call it the puck, more or less.
And so the wire and
And
that whole
instead of the wire, it's just going to be a little puck that you could put underneath the sink or move it wherever you need to move it. Hey, I've got water. I'm worried about water leakage over here. It can monitor on the top and the bottom of it.
I
So,
like the puck idea.
yeah,
It's
that's
much simpler instead of mounting, and
yes.
you got to figure out where to put the 6 feet of cable. Even though you
Hmm.
can cut the cable, you really don't want to cut the cable.
No, you want to
So
stay with the cord that it comes with.
you want to
Yeah,
stay with the cord that it comes with, and then you got to put it somewhere. And I like the way it mounts though, because it's just like more of a U shape or a
right.
right angle shape. You kind of mount it to the bottom of your cabinet. It's fairly easy to put in,
Hmm.
but the puck idea is great because I can stick them
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And if it's easy for an installer and just easy to live there,
If you've ever had water damage, you know how dramatic it can be and how
yes.
expensive it can be. We had a hot water heater leak in my house, and this is going back well over 10 years ago, and it was an $11,000 worth of damage. I mean, I've been in some homes where I'm up in the Pocono area where there was a lot of summer homes and stuff like that, and I know I had one of my technicians one day go out to a site that was getting alarms. Well, they didn't have any water detection. It just so happened that the second floor pipes burst, right, and leaked and got into door sensors, which caused alarms. All right,
Wow.
over $60,000. I mean, when you walk into a home and there's no sheetrock left on the first floor because it all fell from the water damage, it's not a happy sight to see.
No,
So getting an early alert on that is very important.
mine was a drywall screw and a copper pipe,
Ooh,
and it went about 3 months before the drywall screw finally rusted out and was a pinhole leak.
right.
So I heard this dripping, and I really don't go back into that room unless like I'm going into that room, but I just kept hearing a dripping. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but it is what it is. It's an old house. It could be
Right.
the radiators, it could be anything. And then I'm finally like, well, the dripping's getting louder, and my whole tray ceiling was filled with water and bulging. So, especially when you have woodwork on your ceiling
Well,
to replace all that.
imagine if you weren't there to know that that was going on,
Yes.
and you're on vacation for a week. Imagine what you would have come home to.
Yep. And that was even with the we have the water valve installed.
Right.
And you have to really be particular about how you set your settings, because do you want it, you have low flow, medium flow, and high flow. And what is your low, what is your high, what is your medium? Because you have to tailor it to you. It tries to learn you, but it never really does that good of a job. But with one of these, it could have immediately sent an automation to say, there's water detected, shut the main valve off.
Right.
That's a really important thing. And I know that you have a water closing device.
We do have a shut off, a water flow valve. It's very simple, no plumbing needed. Okay, basically it fits over a quarter turn shut off.
Yep.
So as long as it's a quarter turn shut off, basically you're going to go to that. You're going to turn the water off. You're going to press the sensor, the shut-off valve right over top of it, clamp it to the pipe. There's actually a button on top that you hit. It'll calibrate how much energy it needs to use to turn that valve, and you're set. And if it detects water, you can have the water shut off. Or, hey, you left and you went to go on vacation going, I forgot to turn the water off. You can turn the water off.
Yep.
So we have that. We don't have every fit for every valve, but we have the quarter turn shut-off valve that's available. But there are a lot of them out there, and I know some insurance companies actually are now requiring for remote shutoff for their
Yes.
water, because again, that's one of the largest claims. The other thing we can do is we do have temperature sensors, so we can monitor temperature. All right. So if you've got a high or a low temperature, we have one device that'll monitor both high and low temperature. So if I set my temperature at 40 degrees, and if it hits 40 degrees, I want to be alerted right away, because it should be no less than, say, 50 degrees or 55 degrees. I'm away. I have my temperature turned down a little bit, but at least I'm getting an early notification, because that's the other thing is, hey, pipes can freeze.
Pipes can freeze. That's the biggest deal. And I love I have a couple temperature sensors all across the house. Tells
Right.
everything that I need to know. And, it's one of those things that you sell to a customer and they're like, well, when would I need this? And I'm like, when you're on vacation and it's in the wintertime, because that's when you normally travel,
Right.
and you lose power or you lose, an air handler or something like that, that's when you're going to need this notification.
And that's what's going to be neat about these devices. Imagine being able to see the temperature at every single device.
Yeah. And if it can pop up and populate, in our
Yep.
temperature section,
Yeah.
now you have 50 sensors. that's going to be a great, benefit because what's the temperature in each room?
Right.
I'm just getting a constant gauge. And like you said, we are informational humans.
Yep.
We love seeing data,
Yeah.
weird data
Yeah.
of temperatures, but it makes sense.
Yes.
There's just so much to it. And, but there's so many great sensors here. We have our glass breaks, our motion with a camera. I know
Mhm.
they used to make an outdoor version of that.
We still have an outdoor version. We don't have one in PowerG Plus yet, but we
Okay.
do have an outdoor version. Again, it is a camera, so it's taking pictures, not video yet. Maybe in the future you'll see video with it. But it's going over PowerG, so it's not relying on, I don't need Wi-Fi for that camera or anything like that.
And that water valve, you don't have to use it on the main valve. I actually use one on my pool water
Okay.
because that's right in the basement.
Right.
And if I don't want that on, there's no reason for it to be on in the summer. I just click it and turn it off.
And it actually has an IP rating, so it can be mounted outside.
Yeah, if you need
So
to.
I know that some of my counterparts down in the Florida area actually sell it and are being used outside.
Oh,
The
okay.
shutoffs are outside, yes.
Well, it never freezes.
Yeah, exactly.
But for us, it has to be in the warmth.
Although it's been snowing down south more than it is up here.
Yeah, no, but that's a neat feature.
Yes.
There's so many uses for it. You don't just think of your basic uses. You think of, oh, do I not want my water? Do I not want my hose bib on? Do I have a issue of theft of water?
Right.
Somebody could come up and use your hose. You don't know it. That says, oh, I go right on my phone. I turn it off. Then when I go out, I turn it back on.
Right.
It's not like we have to go down and push any buttons or anything. It's simple.
And then the other thing with the automation is not only with water or temperature or whatever, through alarm.com, I love it. I always say it's if this, then that, right? So for instance, this system I'm set up that if I arm this system, I leave, I lock the door. When I come back later on and I unlock the door, right? I also want it to turn on a light someplace.
Yep.
All right. Or if water's detected, shut off this, but turn on the outside light. My neighbors could say, "Why is the outside light?" Those type of things. So you can set up different things to trip other devices and other things.
In that alarm.com
In the
automation.
alarm.com.
If your
automation.
camera sees something, we use a PowerG plug to turn on a light or a PowerG switch.
Correct.
So it's a consistent, use of it. I know that when my alarm goes off, I have it tied to a smart plug to turn something else on.
Correct.
So now it's that movement of we can do so much with an automation feature,
Right.
but we need the products that actually work to do it.
Mhm.
And that's where I think PowerG just surpasses everybody else in the industry.
Yeah.
It just works.
When I'll do trainings with technicians and salespeople all the time, and I say, when do you sell PowerG? All right. And their answer is, when I need to distance. Well, that's not the real answer. The real answer is all the time because of the features you have, the encryption, the security to it. It's just a much, much more secure device.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, it's always going to be a few dollars more than your legacy frequency, but just a much more secure device and a lot more features that you can do with it.
And the encryption, I think, is really important to me. I
Mhm.
mean, you can easily jam and block a signal.
Correct.
But when you have the encryption, you also have jam detection built in.
Jam detection, that's the frequency hopping. We're moving around all those times
Yep.
in per second just to avoid any of those things.
And that's why you're paying more for PowerG. So if
Correct.
a company is selling you $319
Yeah.
or selling you, I mean, I know a lot will just build it into that package. It's such a disservice to you as a customer. It's a disservice to them. But now you're giving, because you want to save $10 a sensor.
Right.
And I really think that in this day and age, we have to care about our safety and security. You have to look at the encryption. And they won't tell the customer this.
Right.
But I think this is the biggest thing is the security, the reliability, all the feedback. It's less wireless headache because there's not stuff screaming at each other and trying to
Mhm.
get through. And that's where this really shines, in my opinion. And that's why we only sell PowerG. And it's not that much more. It's just so many more benefits. And why wouldn't you want to give your customer all those benefits?
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. It's the benefits.
It's the benefits, the automation features. And, that's where you get in and say, hey, do you want to lock? It's pretty cost effective. It's not a $500 item. Maybe it's a $225 or $250 item where, yeah, we carry it in all three colors. I have one on the truck. Do you want to see it? Yep, they grab it. They see it. Oh, it goes with my finish and everything. Boom, it's a sale.
Right.
It's an easy placement. It's, I think, even easier to install than a normal deadbolt. It screws right in. It's through and
I like the fact that look how easy it is to get to the batteries.
Yep.
So
There's no
very
screws.
easy, no screws. I mean, I can lock it from inside. Just press my button, lock my door.
Yeah.
It's easy to go onto the touch screen. I'll let you do it. I
Yep.
want to unlock the door.
So we can unlock.
Garage door unlocked.
So you'll get a verbal notification that the garage door was unlocked, and you can even see that you have your battery gauge right up in the top, letting you know how much power you have left.
And what's the level on my battery right now?
Your battery life is 89%.
And they've been in for almost a year.
And you demo it every day.
I demo it every day. This sits sometimes. I have my carrying case that I put all my demo equipment in. Matter of fact, it was in my truck last night. So what was the temperature out? Like
20
12?
degrees?
Yeah. It was where I came from. It was like 12 degrees this morning. So, that just shows you how great and PowerG is, especially saving energy on the batteries.
Yep. And then, we can have all of our locks on this page. So automation wise, how many locks can we have on a panel like this?
You can do the same amount of devices, right, that you can do with the Z-Wave. So you're going to have 20 or more locks on this system.
Great. So we can have 128 security zones.
Correct.
And we can have up to 20 or over 20, around 20 locks.
Right. And then lights and everything. So I believe it's 137, 138. I'm a little off on that maybe, but on the automation through alarm.com. So whatever you can do with Z-Wave, you can do with PowerG. It's just
reliable.
It's much more reliable. And again, if I'm only selling a lock, right? For instance, I'll give you an example. I did a home with a nice big old fashion home with a pool right behind it. They brought in a large shed and made it into a pool house, which was literally 100 feet away from the house, if that, okay? And we actually had the IQ2 at the time towards the back door. Well, I sold them a Z-Wave lock for the shed. They had a situation where somebody was sleeping in the shed at night. Anyway, long story short, we did the lock. We learned it into the system. It kept falling offline. It wasn't communicating because we were relying on Z-Wave, which doesn't give me that distance. So what do I have to do? I now have to add Z-Wave devices to build that mesh network to get it to communicate. Not only did I spend an extra day or more with labor, right, but I probably spent another $200 in devices that I ate the cost of just to make this work for that family.
And that's where Z-Wave...
Whereas PowerG, I would have just sold them a lock and been done with it.
Yep. I think... And also, you don't want to call back.
Right.
The one thing you don't want in our industry is a callback. And this has sealed it for us. I mean, we don't have callbacks on our products.
Right.
And because we know that we're using the right products...
Exactly. So what if this was a Z-Wave plug and I'm using it to do my Christmas lights or whatever, and I unplug it, now I move it into the dining room. How many times has that device fallen offline in the Z-Wave world? In the PowerG world, I unplug and plug this every day, and move it around. Just it automatically discovers it. I don't have to go in and rediscover it and, like you said, send us a call or a labor charge out.
Yeah. And it keeps it easy, and everything's manageable through mobile tech.
Mm-hmm.
With Z-Wave, it's much more complicated to try and get involved.
Right.
And a lot of the Z-Wave devices stores things on their own, so you have to sometimes go into their actual keypads and fix something, rather than we can go right into our back end or right on here and fix it.
I always wondered, why do I have to undiscover a device bore I add it when it's never been there before?
Yeah.
Right. So
I've never been able to get it to work.
Yeah, you don't have to do that with us.
No, there's just so much easy use, and this does come in 3 different colors. Like you have your nickel, your brushed satin, and your black, and your oil rub bronze.
That's the Mount Black and an oil rub bronze. So the oil rub bronze is more of a dark color like that, just more of like an antique look.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a black one and a silver one.
Right.
And I think they're great. And I actually have it tied to my automation that when I lock the door, it arms the alarm. And that's just another thing through alarm.com that we achieve is automation.
Yep.
And 4 AA batteries, no special batteries, which is great.
Right.
You always have them laying around. It's not the old, sometimes it used to be C batteries.
And you're getting a notification when it's time to change it. It's not like it's just going to die on you.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Those Z-Wave ones, you never know.
Right.
And you have to, and if you're locked out, you got to hopefully that you have the one key that they give you to it. And
Yes.
nobody knows where those keys go to because you're so used to the combination. So
Exactly.
that giving you an alert, I think, is a great benefit. You have your camera on here. This is your page where it's going to tell you if your system's okay. You have your Wi-Fi. And then here's your arming. And this is where your partitions would be to actually swipe up through
Yep.
here.
Yep.
We can see our active, open. So if we open this sensor here,
Front door open.
we can see that our front door was open. It also gave us a verbal notification, which isn't really all new, but it's nice that we have it right on a page.
Right.
Before on the rubber button keypads, it would have to scroll through and say open, or it would, and like it could scroll like
Yeah.
10 lines sometimes
Yeah.
telling you this motion, this motion, this
Yeah,
motion.
by the
You're like-
time you got through everything, it was like
Yeah.
10 minutes later. Yeah.
and you had to stand still.
exactly.
With all the Honeywells or any of those, you had to stand still, let the green light turn on, and then you could go and arm.
Right.
And this is, we just go and, leave. You click here,
Arm system type.
arm stay or arm away.
Right.
It's easy.
Mhm.
And even to do from your phone. I mean,
And you can see if I arm it, let's arm it.
Arm stay.
All right. So say I left, you're still staying home. I go ahead and lock the door and leave, and I'm out the door, right? You can shut the door again.
Garage door locked.
All right. But if I came back later on, I have it set up now that if I come to the system, I enter my 4-digit code and unlock the system, I don't have to go to the panel. It'll automatically be set up to disarm the
Garage
system.
door unlocked.
yep.
Automated disarm.
Yeah. And normally if I had my light plugged, the light would come on. So,
There's so many cool features. Here's our lighting.
mhm.
This is nice if you have your Christmas lights and everything. You can do it from the panel or your alarm.com app.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of people, we put the panel in, they use it sparingly because they always do everything right on alarm.com.
Exactly. I mean, we do have secondary touch screens and other keypads to add to it, but in most cases, most people are using their app. I mean, most people have their phone right next to them anyway. And we feel that we integrate. There are a lot of other manufacturers that integrate with alarm.com, but we feel we give the customer the best experience. The colors and the things that you see here look identical on the alarm.com. So it's not like I've got to learn a whole, like you said, on the rubber button keypads, you've got that LCD. That doesn't look what like alarm.com looks like. You know?
Yeah.
Our screens look like that. So you get a nice custom feel to
It's
it.
a fluent
Yes.
exchange.
Yes.
And I think that that's really important for your customers
hmm
because they know what they're looking at because, this cross is different than that or something's different and it has to be fluent.
Right.
And I think that's the experience that you provide and our customers love. And I know that, everybody uses it. So it's really wonderful products. And, I'm really excited that we were able to have you on here.
I appreciate it. This was great.
And like I said, we use their products. I know a ton of other companies do as well. And it's just, I think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It works. It's always working. It's very little headache. The products are solid, and we use them. Our customers love them. And
So I met you a year and a half ago.
yeah,
And how much alarm experience did you have?
0.
How long did it take you to learn this panel?
It was minutes.
A minute. I was here, and you were already a pro a half an hour later. So that's the other thing is, with the wizard and everything else, it makes it nice and easy. So, I've had my own company for years in the past, and I know getting technicians in and training them and everything was a long process. With our stuff, whether it's the IQ4 or going to the IQ Pro, it's pretty easy to learn. You learn one, you learn them all.
And it's
So,
not your old programming with your buttons and whatnot. But I went to ADI and I said, I want the best system
yeah.
and the easiest to use. And they said, Qolsys is your guy and Dave's your guy. Here's his number, get connected. And that's exactly what I did.
Appreciate that ADI.
Yeah. But it's been great and we love them and I think it's great and I'm so excited to see what's now forecasted for PowerG Plus and what our future holds.
Yes.
So
Great. Thank you for having me.
yeah, absolutely. So that was another great episode of the Green Room podcast. I thank you for tuning in and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll see you on the next one.